Hey, welcome back. This week I had a subscriber send me an email and he asked me some really good questions. Instead of just sending him an email back, I figured I'd answer his questions because other people probably have similar ones. So my wife's going to ask me the questions and I'll give the answers interview style.
Come here. So our email had some really good questions, so we'll start out with the first one. Asif would like to hear more about your background, and he asked, how long have you been woodworking and in construction?
Well, I've been woodworking for as long as I can remember. My dad's a cabinet maker, and so I spent lots of time as a little boy rummaging through a scrap bin and just putting things together. Then I started making chessboards and shelves, and I made some swords. I made anything I could think of, really, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And then after that, during high school, I used a vacuum bag and laminated some longboards. That was a lot of fun doing that. After high school, I went to work for my father, and I installed kitchen cabinetry for about 6 months. That gave me some more experience in woodworking. Then I went away to college, and one summer I built a wood strip kayak. That was a lot of fun. And that's kind of the extent of my woodworking skills. I've started this project, and I've learned a lot from it as well.
The next question from Asif is, I know you said you're an engineer. What type?
Well, right now I'm working as a radar engineer, and while I enjoy it, I find it hard to sit behind a desk all day every day. So that's what prompted me to come outside and start working on this. I like to be working on a project all the time, so.
All right, the next question was, have you gone to school for any of the previously mentioned fields? This is kind of like 3 questions in one, so I'll ask it again. Have you gone to school for any of the previously mentioned fields, or is it all learned from someone, like a family member or a mentor, or is it all trial and error? You seem very young to be so proficient in your skill set.
Well, I went to school and I got a bachelor's degree in physics. So, no, it didn't directly relate to construction or woodworking. But my physics background, I'd like to put that to use in learning some of the engineering required for designing timber frames. What did he say next? What was the next part of the question?
The next part was, is it all learned from someone, like a family member or a mentor, or is it all trial and error?
So a lot of my woodworking, I spent time with my dad woodworking, and I learned some tricks from him. And then my wood strip kayak was just a book I bought, and for my longboards it was mostly just trial and error, figuring out what worked best, reading on the internet from other people's experience. So a lot of trial and error and learning from others where I can.
So Asif's next question, which by the way is actually a question that we've gotten from other YouTube followers and viewers, but here's his next question.
Okay.
He says that he wants to build the 12x16 timber frame that you're also currently building from the book that you mentioned earlier. We'll put that in the description below for you guys to know which book we're talking about. But he says, as someone who is completely new to this craft, would you recommend taking a timber frame course first, or with some practice pieces of joinery would I be able to accomplish the build? And then he says, I'm the type of person that can read a book and recreate and produce something of quality. So, what would you say? to that question?
Well, I haven't taken a timber framing course. I thought it would be cool, but I think with this book, the one that I'm using, I don't think you really need to take a course. It has a lot of information and everything you really need to know to build your first timber frame. At least so far. We'll see if that's 100% true when I put it all together. But so far it's going well, and everything that I've test fit has worked out great. So if you haven't done much woodwork, I would recommend making something small just to practice your joinery. Maybe some sawhorses or another small project, or even just practicing on a few joints. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold. Because of my background in woodworking, I didn't feel like I needed to cut practice joints first. Now that being said, I did spend a lot of time reading and rereading the book. And before I cut each timber, I spend quite a bit of time drawing out all the details for each timber. In the book, not every detail you need to cut each timber is right on the section where it's explained. You have to kind of go forward and backward a few pages usually to get all the information you need. So I'd spend probably an hour for each different type of timber just reading that section and the sections around it to try and make sure that I really understand each joint and the placement of each joint and how it relates to the other timbers, and just get a really good feeling for that timber. I also would draw up a little plan that had all the measurements so that I could quickly reference it. So I'd make a sheet of paper for each timber, or each different type of timber, and it would have all the details I would need to make that timber. So it takes a lot of preparation, but I think the book, it does give you all the information you need.
Awesome. So his last question is there any part of the book that you found hard to understand, or a part that I should pay close attention to?
Well, I would say there's parts on throughout when it's describing the layout of the timbers that you have to read really carefully. I wouldn't say it's hard to understand, just takes a couple readings just to make sure you have it right. The plans aren't like, the plans given in the book aren't drawn up perfectly. They leave off a lot of dimensions. Well, they don't leave off the dimensions, they just scatter them around. I think the book is relatively easy to understand. As I said before, you just need to make sure that you go through each section and make sure you understand each timber. That being said, I don't think there's many spots that are terribly difficult to understand.
Okay, awesome. So I have my own question for you, which we've been asked before. So the question is, why did you choose to go into timber framing? Why do you like it? And I think you kind of already answered this in one of your first questions, but...
Yeah, as I said, I like to get out and work on a project, and I've always enjoyed woodworking. It's something that here in New England, there's a lot of timber frame structures, and so when we first moved here, I saw a lot of them, and I thought they were really cool. So I started doing reading on them, and I just become more and more interested in it, and I wanted to build my own. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them. Thanks for your feedback and your questions so far. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Linnea! 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 Look! Look! Tell everyone hi, like and subscribe.
Nope.
All right, time for you to eat. Hey, Moab. Was this even recording?